We've done 5. Yene Ravindaksha is number 5. Number 4. And now I think we're at Atapite Deva Padambuja Dvaya. Yes? And what verse number is that? Okay, for those of you keeping score at home, 10-36. We're on the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is said to be the smiling face of Krishna. The cantos themselves go from 1 to 12, and the first 2 cantos are the lotus feet of Krishna. According to the Shweta Upanishad, this is the smiling face of Krishna. So we're meeting Krishna directly through the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and it's known to be an incarnation of Krishna. Krishna swadamo pagate dharmaganadibi saha kalunashta drishamesha purar narkodanodita. Just after Krishna departed for his own abode, what appeared? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And anyone who wants to derive the benefit, same benefit as associating directly with Krishna, will take advantage of this literature. So, we're on... Did we skip Atapite Deva? That comes later. Yeah, that's in the 14th chapter. So now we're on prayers by the demigods. Krishna appears by his own sweet will, and Bhumi had gone to Brahma and said the burden on the earth is getting to be too much. Brahma went to the shore of the ocean of milk. He chanted the Purusa Sukta. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhuming Vishwato Vritvat Attitishtat Shangulam, etc. And all the devas came there, and Brahma received a transmission, a message directly from Krishna to his heart. And that is that I'll soon appear, and that all the devas, they should also appear in the same realm to assist me in my pastimes. So these now are the demigods, the devas, who are aware that Krishna is going to take birth. He, according to the prophecy that was heard by Kamsa when he was driving his sister Devaki back from her wedding, on her wedding day, he wanted to kill his own sister because he heard this prophecy that 8th child of your sister will kill you. So he stopped the chariot, grabbed her hair, and was about to decapitate her when Vasudeva talked him out of it. And now we've been through quite a bit because the first 6 sons of Devaki were unceremoniously killed by Kamsa. There's a long story behind those 6, which we can talk about later, since we have all night. And now the 7th was known to be a miscarriage, but actually it was Shankarshan Balaram who had appeared in the womb of Devaki but been transferred to the womb of Rohini. I know this is a lot of information, but you probably already know it anyway. But the 8th child then was to appear, and the devas, understanding that Krishna was about to make his advent from the womb of Devaki. And again, it's not an ordinary birth. Krishna, as you know, appeared in Mathura. And when he appeared, he had his Narayan form, fully ornamented with 4 arms and so forth. Not a normal baby. So it's a transcendental birth. It doesn't mean that it's the same kind of birth that people have in this world by force. Krishna appears by his own sweet will. Nonetheless, when Devaki was showing signs that she was going to give birth, the devas, headed by Brahma, came and offered prayers to Krishna within the womb. And that's what this chapter is about. It's very instructive. So we're on the verse number 10-36. And I'm going to sing the Sanskrit, and then I'll ask you to reply in kind. Does that sound fair? I need a verbal yes. Okay. Nanama rupe guna janma karma pir nirupitavye tavatasya sakshinaha mano vachobhya manumeya vartmano deva kriyayam pratayantya tapihi And now I'm going to read the translation. O Lord, this is Brahma praying to Krishna within the womb of Devaki. Your transcendental name and form are not ascertained by those who merely speculate on the path of imagination. Your name, form, and attributes can be ascertained only through devotional service. Purport. This is an explanation given by Srila Prabhupada. When he would give these purports, he had a book that had the commentaries of the main acharyas. And he would sit with his dictaphone and he would observe the commentaries of the various acharyas. You can see pictures of him as he's translating and giving commentary. And he would synthesize the commentaries from the acharyas like Sridhar Swami or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, etc. And then he would give the summary or the synthesis of these in the purport. So that's what you're getting is what's called parampara, the same message that's been passed down from the great teachers over many generations through millennia. And that's the art of devotional commentary, is to preserve the original meaning given by the acharyas in the same line. One's not to veer off and make up some new thing. But one should put it in such a way that people in a modern audience can understand it. So that's what you're getting here in the purport. Purport, as stated in the Padma Purana, Atashi Krishna namadi nababhed grayam indriye, sevan mukhihi jivado swayam eva spuratyada. One cannot understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through one's materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Since Krishna and his transcendental name, form, and activities are all of a transcendental nature, ordinary persons or those who are only slightly advanced cannot understand them. Even big scholars who are non-devotees think that Krishna is fictitious. Yet although so-called scholars and commentators do not believe that Krishna was factually a historical person whose presence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is recorded in the history of Mahabharata, they feel compelled to write commentaries on Bhagavad-gītā and other historical records. Seva mukhihi jivado swayameva spuratyada. Krishna's transcendental name, form, attributes, and activities can be revealed only when one engages in his service in full consciousness. This confirms Krishna's own words in the Bhagavad-gītā, 1855. If you know it, you can say it with me. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishite taranantaram. And if you like Bhagavad-gītā, just as a side comment, on the day that Bhagavad-gītā was spoken, we assemble here and we chant the whole Bhagavad-gītā together. If you like such things, you'll feel very much at home on that day. Nobody ever says the next day that that was exhausting. Everybody says, can we do it every day? That's the nature of the transcendental vibration. It's uplifting. So one may think, oh, that's a lot of labor to chant the whole Bhagavad-gītā. It takes about 4.5 hours if we chant at a regular speed. And everyone feels that it was time well spent. The sound vibration uplifts every soul. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Only by sevan mukha, by engaging oneself in the Lord's service, can one realize the name, form, and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. O Lord, the demigods say, The impersonalists who are non-devotees cannot understand that your name is identical with your form. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his name and his actual form. In the material world, there is a difference between form and name. The mango fruit is different from the name of the mango. One cannot taste the mango fruit simply by chanting mango, mango, mango. But the devotee who knows that there is no difference between the name and the form of the Lord chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and realizes that he is always in Krishna's company. For persons who are not very advanced in absolute knowledge of the Supreme, Lord Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes. They can simply think of the pastimes of the Lord and get the full benefit. Since there is no difference between the transcendental name and form of the Lord, there is no difference between the transcendental pastimes and the form of the Lord. For those who are less intelligent, the great sage Vyasadeva wrote Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, Krishna is present in his different activities. Mahabharata is history, and simply by studying, hearing, and memorizing the transcendental activities of Krishna, less intelligent people can also gradually rise to the standard of pure devotees. The pure devotees who are always absorbed in the thought of the transcendental lotus feet of Krishna, and who are always engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, are never to be considered in the material world. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness by body, mind, and activities are to be considered liberated even within this body. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad-gītā. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord have already transcended the material position. So this verse is about the impenetrable nature of the spiritual science. It's based on bhakti, or one's devotion. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna mentions that if one is sincere in knowing him, then he enlightens such a person from within the heart. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Krishna says, if you sincerely want to know me, then I enlighten you from within your heart. I give you the intelligence. Dadami buddhi. Dadami means to give something, right? What does he give? Buddhi. Intelligence, how to come to him. So one needn't to be a big scholar. One needn't know Sanskrit. If one is simply sincere from any culture, in any place, if one wants to know God, God wants to reveal himself to us, and he's there within our heart. But then what do we do? What is the process? Here, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Padma Purana, a verse you heard in the first part of the commentary. Atashi Krishna namadi nabhaved grayam indriye seva mukhi jivado swayameva spuratyada. This is an astonishing verse because it says in the Shastra, in Padma Purana, that the first step in yoga has to do with the tongue. Jiva. Jiva adhaḥ. Adhaḥ means the first step you must take in order to become enlightened begins with your tongue. Did you know that? If you look at your tongue, not right now, but sometime, you'll notice it looks like a rudder. And that's why we can determine which direction we're going by how we're using our tongue. So what the verse says, Atashi Krishna namadi, you can't understand Krishna by your blunt material senses. Right? But he says, Atashi Krishna namani nabhaved grayam indriye sevan mukhi hijihwadao, which means that, however, if you start to do service to God with your tongue, then spuratyada, Krishna will reveal himself to you. Who knew yoga would start with the tongue? But there it is, right in Padma Purana, Jihva adhaḥ. First thing is your tongue. So now we have homework, because if you want to start or continue or advance in your spiritual practice, we have some direction. It begins with the tongue. So what kind of service can one do with one's tongue? Let's take the obvious one first. Yes, Ananta. Give him a microphone. Let the young man speak for himself.
Hare Krishna. Service with the tongue can be chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Yes, it can. When you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra like this, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a service to Krishna. How is that a service to Krishna? Well, just imagine, are there any parents in here? Anybody a parent? Only one person. I find that hard to believe. Okay, so what if you have a little child and you're waiting for the child to talk? Has anybody experienced that before? You have a little child, you're waiting for the child to talk? Say yes. Thank you. So what does the child say first? Mama, dada, daddy, ama, appa. As soon as you hear a child say ama or mama, it is just said my name. Becomes the parent becomes ecstatic. So Krishna is our well-wisher. We're eternal servants of Krishna. And when we begin to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna immediately notices that we're turning towards him. And this is something that is mentioned in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The whole material world is meant to give us an opportunity to leave the bondage of material life and enter back into our spiritual practice in the spiritual world. I think we're running down on batteries or something. Maybe. I've talked enough through this microphone today, so it's altogether. But don't worry, because we have plenty more where this came from. If you chant Hare Krishna, it's a service to Krishna. You're using your tongue to repeat the names of God and to glorify him. So what's another way that you can use your tongue to serve God? It's something, yes. Give her a microphone. Let's hear her idea. She said prasadam, but we couldn't hear you. But what about prasadam?
Honoring prasadam.
What do you mean by honoring prasadam?
Eating prasadam.
You can eat prasadam, and we call it honoring because it's a sacred activity. Is that service to Krishna? Yes. Prasad sevaya means you're serving God by honoring the prasadam. The foodstuff that you've offered to him as bhoga, he gives back as prasad. So that doesn't sound like too bad of a process, does it? To say the names of God and then to honor foodstuff that's been offered to him? That's what I thought. Before I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, I had read about yogis who live in the Himalayas and perform severe austerities, and I thought, I'm going to try that too. My parents thought it was an odd thing to do. But when I read the Back to Godhead magazine of the Hare Krishna movement, it said, actually, in this age, the real service and austerity to God is chanting, dancing, and feasting. I thought, that's a much better idea. So it's the Kevala Anandakanda, or the path of joy. We can eat food that's been offered to God, prasad. We can chant Krishna's names either individually in japa, or we can sing together in Samkirtan. And what else can we do? Yes?
We can talk to people about Krishna like is happening right now, especially from Shastra.
That's an excellent point. In the Bhagavad-gītā 18th chapter, Krishna says, anyone who teaches the Bhagavad-gītā to my devotees who have forgotten it is the most dear to me. So that's one of the best services, and that's why here we have a preoccupation with going out throughout Silicon Valley. We actually knock on doors. You know that? Has anybody knocked on your door? We knock on people's doors and we say, hi. Remember Bhagavad-gītā? And I'm happy to say that people in the valley are very friendly. People greet us everywhere, invite us in. They want to see the books. They'd like to put them in their home. We go to offices, businesses. We give talks at corporates like Salesforce and Intel and Google, where we present Krishna consciousness. They actually invite us to come there. So we're spreading this all over, and this is one of the great services that one can do, is speak about Bhagavad-gītā. All you can do that because you all know Bhagavad-gītā, right? You read it every day, right? Say yes. You'll start next tomorrow. And now we're going to test out our theory, although we can't eat because we're fasting today until midnight. Unless you're fasting, you can always have some prasad. They're serving it out there. We're going to try chanting the Ma mantra together. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay. We're continuing reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And here, there's a little more purport to go. Would you like to hear a little more? Yes. I'm impressed. Krishna appears in order to give a chance to both the devotees and the non-devotees for realization of the ultimate goal of life. The devotees get the direct chance to see him and worship him. Those who are not on that platform get the chance to become acquainted with his activities and thus become elevated to the same position. The Brahma Samhita 538 says, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaksa daiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Everyone say, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is Brahma in his prayers here, and also his previous prayers that end with Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma, the original living entity in the universe, who's born from the lotus flower of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, after his revelation of the spiritual world, in which he is benedicted by Kṛṣṇa to see the goings-on in the spiritual world. He speaks about this in the Brahma Samhita. Sreya kanta kanta parama purusha kalpataravo druma bhumishchintamani ganamayi toyamamritam kataganam natyam gamaram apivamshi priyasaki chiranandam jyoti paramapi taraswadyam mapicha Sayatra Shiradi Sravati Surabhibhasya Sumahan Nime Sardhyakyo Vavrachati Nahiyatrapi Samayaha Vajay Shweta Dvipam Tamahamiha Golokamitiyam Vidantaste Shantakshiti Vilachara Kapitaye. There in the Brahma Samhita, Brahma speaks about his revelation of the spiritual world. The most attractive form in this world is known in history as Eros. Eros, we also have Cupid. Cupid is so attractive, if you see Cupid, then you can't take your eyes away. So, in this description of Krishna in the spiritual world, we find that Cupid times 1 billion squared. The attractive form of God is so attractive, that's why his name is Krishna. Krishna means the attractor. Everyone is attracted to his beauty. And there's Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo. It's not that God exists in isolation alone, but he's surrounded by all his devotees who are goddesses of fortune. Everyone's looking for the goddess of fortune. Admit it. You put up a little kumkum or something, it's like, please, come here. You please enter my house. But there, all the goddesses of fortune, they're attracted to Krishna. Millions and billions. And there's Surabhi cows. And it's also mentioned that there's rhythm in the spiritual world. This is the raga. The raga comes from the spiritual world, actually. Every devotee in the spiritual world has his or her own unique raga by which to worship Krishna. And Brahma describes how everyone's moving in joy. When you're joyful, what do? You dance. You dance. Why are you dancing through the house? I'm so happy. In the spiritual world, everyone's movement is for joy and worshiping Krishna, so there's dancing and the rhythm. And in that sense, the Bollywood films are not too far off. Because at any time, you know, when you're watching a Bollywood movie or any musical, a song can break out at any time, right? And then the dancing begins. And there in the spiritual world, this is the norm, that every gait is a dance, every word is a song. So the spiritual world is not void, and Krishna is not alone, but the spiritual world is where all the living entities who are enlightened and in love with Krishna reside. Material world's a little lonely because we're separated from the light of the spiritual world and from Krishna. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam brings our attention to the portals through which we can see the spiritual world and understand it. It's not illogical. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, ūrdhva-mūlam adhaḥ-śākham aśvatthaṁ prāhur avyayam, chandāṁsi yasya parṇāni yasyam veda-vit. That this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. We see variety here, but the variety here is temporary. It has a shelf life. Whatever we want to embrace here, whatever we want to taste here, has a beginning and an end. It's a temporary world because it's a reflection of the spiritual world. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says that the mission of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is reality distinguished from illusion for the benefit of all. If I try to embrace an illusory apple, a reflection on the water, this is folly. I won't be able to eat it. But the substance is there in the spiritual world. So Brahma gives this explanation of how one can see Krishna. He says, although Krishna's transcendental form is presented as black, devotees who are in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead appreciate the Lord as Shyamasundar, having a very beautiful blackish form. The Lord's form is so beautiful that the Brahma Samhita also states, Venum kwanantam aravindam dalaya taksham varhavatam samasitam buddhasundarangam kandarpakoti kamaniya vishesha shobham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord who plays on his transcendental flute. Brinda, play. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord who plays on his transcendental flute. Haribo. That was nice. His eyes are like lotus flowers. He is decorated with peacock plumes, and his bodily color resembles the color of a fresh black cloud. Although his bodily features are more beautiful than millions of cupids. This beauty of the Supreme Lord can be seen by devotees who are in love with him, devotees whose eyes are anointed with the love of Godhead. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. The Lord is also known as Giridhari, or Girivaradhari, because Krishna, for the sake of his devotees, lifted Govardhan Hill. The devotees appreciate the Lord's inconceivable strength, but non-devotees, in spite of directly perceiving the Lord's inconceivable strength and power, regard the Lord's activities as fictitious. This is the difference between the devotee and non-devotee, and a non-devotee. Non-devotees cannot give any nomenclature for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet the Lord is known as Shyamasundar and Giridhari. Similarly, the Lord is known as Devaki Nandan and Yashoda Nandan, because he accepted the role of son for Mother Devaki and Mother Yashoda. And he is known as Gopal because he enjoyed the sport of maintaining the cows and calves. And because we just heard the names Yashoda Nandana, this is one of those times when we're going to break out into song again. I did warn you. This is a song about the spiritual world. And by singing this song, you enter directly into the spiritual world. It has the sweet names of Krishna, like Yashoda Nandan, and the science of Krishna consciousness. God has many names. In fact, we chant, don't we all, the Vishnu Sahasranam? Yasya smarana matanena janma samsara bandhanat vimucite namastasmai Vishnave Papa Vishnave namasamasta bhutanam amritattvaya kalpate. We go on and on chanting the holy names of Lord Vishnu. But in the science of chanting Krishna's names, the Namacharya, Haridas Thakur says, there's primary names and there's secondary names. The secondary names are about God and His creation, the one who creates the universe. But the primary names are the ones about Krishna's with His relationships with His pure devotees in the spiritual world. And those names wake up this pure love for God in the heart very quickly. So this song is all about Krishna's relationships in Vrindavan. Would you like to sing a song like that on Janmashtami? Do you feel that it's appropriate? I concur. We're on a quest for 29 this afternoon, this evening. We have 29 verses picked out from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As they say, in Wall Street, you never go broke taking a profit. And the greatest profit one can take in this world is hearing Krishna Katha. But because it's the height of... No, that's all right. Everyone can... I think it's better if we chant. Right? Just now, we're going to chant a bhajan. If you can all see the screen up there, if you don't know the song, you can sing along. Bhajan means to express your heart to Krishna. Many great bhajans written by the acharyas. And when we sing them, we get a window to the spiritual world. And this next bhajan is written by Jayadev Goswami, one of the great acharyas who wrote the Gita Govinda. Now, of course, the Gita Govinda is a highly esoteric literature. It requires some adhikari to enter within. But the preface to his Gita Govinda is called the dasavatara stotram. Do we have any Bharatanatyam dancers in here? Nobody wants to admit it? Everybody's a Bharatanatyam dancer in here. You just don't want to say because you're afraid what I'll say next. These is often performed, the dasavatara stotram, to celebrate the avatars who come to the world. The word avatar means one who crosses down from a higher level to give assistance to those who are stranded. So in Krishna's advent to this world, He makes His avatar. But this list that we'll sing of tonight, the dasavatara stotra, Krishna is not on this list. And why is He not on the list? Because technically Krishna is not an avatar. Why is that? Because He's avatari. It means He's the source of all the avatars. And therefore He's not listed here by Jayadev Goswami, because all the acharyas know that Krishna is the source of all avatars. Is this going out too? It's fading in and out. And this song will stick in your mind and heart if you happen to go back to your normal life on Monday, sort of bring it up. We give a disclaimer. You may have this song stuck in your head, and as you're walking down the hallway at your office or your home, you're going to be singing this song because it'll get stuck, and that's a good thing. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, "Yang vapi smaran bhavam tajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaite konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha." That means whatever you remember when you leave this world, that's what you'll attain. There's a science to it. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, "Shariram yaravapnoti yatshap yukramatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayor gandham ivashayat." Our mind is so subtle that whatever we associate with is accumulated within the mind. And it's our mind at the time of death, Krishna says, "Utkramantam stitam vapi bunjanan va gunanvitam vimudanana pashyanti jnana chakshusha." He says a wise person can understand when the life of the gross physical body is finished, it's no longer working properly. Then utkramantam, krama means to step and ut means out. So utkrama means you step out of this body. And where do you go? That's dependent on your consciousness, because next Krishna says, Shotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adhishtayam manaschayam vishayan upasevate. You're custom fitted in your next life with the exact kind of senses. Not necessarily human, could be anything, according to your desires. The material nature gives you a body. So when Parikshit Maharaj, the subject of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam's discussion with Shukadeva Goswami, asks, what is the goal of life? Shukadeva says, Ante Narayana Smritihi. Remember God at the time when you leave this world. Wasn't Stephen Covey, 7 Habits, he said, keep the end in mind? Anybody read that book? 7 Habits of Highly Successful People? He said, keep the end in mind, right? Start with the end in mind. That's what the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam does. It starts with the end in mind. If you start with the understanding that I could leave this body at any time. There's no guarantee. You didn't get a warranty when you were born, right? Did you get a warranty? You have it in the car somewhere? There's no guarantee whatsoever. So a poet from Bengal once wrote in Bengali, Kamalada Jaladala Jivana Talamala. He says, I'm just like a little drop of water on a lotus leaf. And everyone knows a lotus leaf is impervious to water, therefore the drop could come off at any time. So in the bhakti process, we drink deeply of the spiritual sound vibration, especially with the raga and the words from the great acharyas and the names of God, because everybody carries a song in their heart. That's what moves all of us. Melody, rhythm is universal. So in bhakti, when we sing these bhajans, they go deeply within our body. They overwrite the other sound vibrations that are there. And they leave us with the clear, pristine spiritual sounds of another realm. And when we have those, and we can aspire for that realm, actually we'll be carried to that realm by the power of that sound vibration. So this is a classic song. Jayadev Goswami, one of the most celebrated commentators on the science of Krishna consciousness, and he wrote this just for us thousands of years ago, hundreds anyway, and I think you'll recognize it. Now you'll see the pictures on the side of the phoneticized Sanskrit. These are renditions of the various avatars of Krishna. As it says in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhavayat Yesha Satvena Lokan Vai Lokabhavana Lila Vataranurato Deva Tiryan Niradishu means he appears in multifarious forms, demigods, animals, human beings, all different forms, just to reclaim the conditioned souls. So you'll see the various forms that are listed as the dasavatara. Shall we? That was a very energizing and uplifting song. And the different moods in spiritual life, as we know from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that Krishna has an eternal relationship, or we have an eternal relationship, and vice versa with Krishna. Sanitya nitya sambandha prakritischa paraivasa. But we've forgotten that relationship, and it can be revived by the process of devotional service to Krishna. Devotees have different moods in serving Krishna. Some are in neutrality. They deeply appreciate Krishna. But then there's those in servitorship, dasya ras, where they feel such gratitude they want to serve Krishna in some way. And then there's those who are in sakya ras, which means they feel friendship with Krishna. And in Vrindavan, as you know, there's unceremonious love for Krishna. Nobody sees Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. They see him as their best friend, or they see him as their darling child or lover. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Shukadeva Goswami says, Itam satam brahma sukhan bhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena mayashitanam naradarakena sakam vrijarukrita punja punjaha. He said some people, they only see God as a light. Others, they worship God in reverence, like in Vaikuntha. Others, they just think he's an ordinary person because they're in Maya. But Sakambrajaru Krita Punya Puja, there are those most highly elevated who are playing with Krishna in the spiritual world, just like friends. That's the nature of Vrindavan. The love for the devotees simply flows, and it's not hindered by a sense of Krishna's godhood. He's their dearly beloved. And sometimes in the pastimes of Vrindavan, there's a sense of great separation. As all of you know, Krishna was born in Vrindavan. He grew up there as the foster child of Nanda and Yashoda. Born from Devaki and Vasudeva. Vasudeva brought him to Nanda Maharaj's home, exchanged for the girl he brought back to the prison, who was Maya Devi herself. Kamsa couldn't kill her. In fact, he had more respect for his sister because he was a worshipper of Durga. And when he thought his sister gave birth to Durga, he said, I think I like you a little better. And of course, Krishna appeared as the 8th son of Vasudeva and Devaki. After Krishna was in Vrindavan for some years, Akura came from Mathura to bring Krishna back because of the plan of Kamsa. Kamsa was always afraid of Krishna. He was thinking 24 hours a day that if I don't kill Krishna, he'll kill me. In his last life, Kamsa was a demon named Kalanemi, who was killed by Lord Narayan. When he understood in his next life as Kamsa that he had been killed in his last life by Vishnu, he became a mortal enemy of the Lord. He was thinking constantly in fear of Krishna. And of course, this is another kind of Krishna consciousness. As mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, yam krodha kama sahaja pranayani bhiti vatsalya moha guru gaurava sevya bhave. Sanchintyatasya sadrishim tanumapurete govindamari purusham tamaham vajami. People can be connected to Krishna in many different kinds of emotion. Kama, lust, krodha, anger. Pranayani piti, in fear. Sahaja means natural friendly love, and so forth. But it's not the true definition of devotional service. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma nyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uchate. Uttama. The topmost bhakti is that which is free from any material desire. One wants nothing back from Krishna, only wants to serve. This is anukul bhakti. So Kamsa didn't have that kind of relationship. He wanted to kill Krishna. So that's not very good, right? Yes and no. Because in the Bhagavatam there's another character, Vena. Does anybody remember from the Bhagavatam, Vena? His nickname was Cruel Vena. He was the son of Anga Maharaj. And when he was a child, Vena was such a bad seed that while playing he would kill his friends. Not a nice child. He didn't get any better as he aged either. Finally, Maharaj Anga, he left his kingdom behind because he said, this child is incorrigible. Why should I try to stay here? He left, became a mendicant. But the Bhagavatam mentions Vena, he got no benefit because the sages told him that you're acting like God, you should worship God. And he said, I am God. There is no God except for me. Whereas Kamsa, he understood Krishna was the supreme. He just wanted to annihilate him. So at least he was thinking of Krishna. In fact, this is one of the qualities of Krishna, that all those who think of him, whether favorably or unfavorably, they get purified. In fact, the demons that Krishna kills in Vrindavan, who can name some demons besides Brajras Bhavana, who memorized all of them when he was 13? Who can name any of the demons that Krishna killed in Vrindavan? Yes. Pralambasura, but he was killed by Balaram, technically, but we'll count it. Bakasura, who's Bakasura's sister? Putana, her name's Baki. There's Baka and Baki, nice family. Any more? Who's the most famous? At least boggles my mind. Who? Kaliya. He didn't kill Kaliya, but he knocked some sense into him. How about Putana? When Krishna was, that's the first demoness that Krishna killed. When he was just a little baby, and the demoness Putana came to the house of Nanda and Yashoda, and there was some wizardry there, because these demoniac people had mystic potencies. They could transform themselves and look like any. She went there looking like the most attractive woman. And there in the village, different women would come and hold the child and take care of him. And when they saw Putana come, they thought, oh, she's so beautiful. Besides, she's from the village. They just let her in. She had smeared poison on her breast to kill Krishna. And as an infant, Krishna grabbed her breast, sucked the milk, the poison, and her life air. She assumed her original form, 8 miles long. She crashed to the ground dead. And the Bhagavatam says that when she fell, she only fell on Kamsa's prized garden and forest. Missed everything else. Krishna killed many demons, and all of them got liberation. Aghasura, the python. There's a prayer written in the Bhagavatam. Some devotees say, oh, I wish I could be as fortunate as Aghasura. because Krishna walked on the tongue of that demon when he walked into its mouth to follow his cowherd boyfriends. Great yogis, they try to reach Krishna for thousands of years and they're still far away. But these demons in Vrindavan, they got direct contact with Krishna and were liberated. So Krishna is all good. When Krishna left Vrindavan with Akura, the gopis, the gopas, everybody in Vrindavan was disconsolate. And he stayed away, apparently, for 100 years, till they met again. And during that time, they were melancholy and feeling vipralamba, or separation from Krishna. This is another spiritual emotion, as explained in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which gives the science of Krishna consciousness. All these emotions in relationship to Krishna, the melancholy, or the joy of playing with Krishna, these are all spiritual emotions. And this is real life. Life with Krishna in the spiritual world. So in this next song, it has a very uplifting feel. Not a song, it's the Maha Mantra. But we're going to sing it to an evening raga that has a different tone. The last songs we sang, the melodies were a little cheery, don't you think? And now we're going to sing something not exactly melancholy, but it's very contemplative and sweet. It's called Hamsadwani. And this is the raga of the swan. Would you like to sing something like that? Would it ruin the broadcast if we turned the lights down just slightly? No, probably would. Anyway, let's try. I mean the song. Much of success in life is being in the right place at the right time. And there are various times of day, of the month, the year, and of our lifetimes where it's vital. According to the Vedic scriptures, the most important time of the day is Brahma Muhurta, hour and 40 minutes before the sun rises. This is a time when free nectar is falling from the sky. If you take a little time during Brahma Muhurta hour and 45 minutes, to cultivate your Krishna consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna before the sun rises. If you greet the sun, it's the biggest event of the day, but most people miss it. And what about during the month? There's Hari Vasara. The day of Lord Hari comes twice a month, the Ekadashi day. Sometimes we don't even see the moon these days. There's a lot of lights, gets drowned out. We may be busy doing other things or maybe even looking at a screen. But if we take the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, make 2 days a month special days for worshipping Lord Hari. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, try to mark each Ekadashi with some progress towards the next Ekadashi. Increase your chanting of Hare Krishna, or your reading of Bhagavad-gītā or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And what about during the year? In Kartik time, special time of year when there's transcendental vibrations in the air. Take time during the October-November season. It's around Diwali time. Does everyone know when Kartik is? If you'd like, you can all come to Vrindavan during that time. We're going to decamp for a while just at the end of September to go to Vrindavan and camp out. It's a good idea to take some time away from your normal routine because, first of all, your mind will say, well, how will I survive? if I go away for a week or 2 weeks, or what to speak of a month, won't my business fail? And won't I live in penury for the rest of my life for missing this 1 month? We'll try it and see, because no one I've ever known who took the time to chant more during Kartik or to go to Vrindavan Dham and spend a week or two during that time has ever felt miserable afterwards. On the contrary, we feel uplifted. It's a spiritual principle. The more that we give to Krishna, the more we become uplifted. And Krishna is supplying for every living entity anyway, but especially those who absorb themselves in devotional service. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nityabdiyuktanam yoga kshemam bahamyaham. For those who turn their attention towards Krishna, Krishna says, I take special notice of this. Even we take special notice, don't we? It's easy enough if you live with someone to pass them in the hallway and say, hi, how are you? Fine, how are you? But what if you took special notice? The person might be surprised. And Krishna might be surprised too if we take special notice of him. Because the hallmark of the material world is called ignorance, otherwise known as ignorance. It's the most painful of all interactions, or perhaps it's not an interaction, it's an anti-interaction. It means if we don't acknowledge somebody, a darkness descends. That's why the material world is dark. So everyone forgets Krishna. But as soon as we turn our attention towards Krishna, take some time during Kartik. And what's the time of our life where you definitely want to be there in full consciousness? Do you have any suggestions? We did the day. That's Brahma Muhurta, right? Say yes. Yes. And then he said during the month, there's 2 times, Hari Vasara, the day of Lord Hari, also known as Akadashi, 11th day of the waning or waxing moon. Akadashi day, feel free to call in sick. Sanatana Goswami did it. He just said, I'm sick, I can't come in. But his boss sent the doctor to his house and said, he's not sick, he's reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all day. So it's bona fide. That's where that comes from. And then during the year, what's the time? Kartik. Who wants to come to Vrindavan? You always put your hand up fast when someone says who wants to come to Vrindavan. You're all invited, you can come to Vrindavan. We have yatras that go to Vrindavan. We go to Govardhan Hill. You want to go to Govardhan Hill? Yes. You can walk around. If you walk around Giriraj, you'll have no problems in your life. In fact, I've been going there in Kartik for the last 25 years and walked around Govardhan Hill many times. And I've seen families that come from remote places. In America, people come from remote places to go to Orlando, Florida. Do you know why? To see the mouse. Or they go to Anaheim, California. I don't know if that one's still open, but they go there to see the mouse. But people in India, they come to see Giri Govardhan, Krishna, the form of transcendental hill. And I notice some families, they come and they do a special kind of vacation fun, or they have vacation fun by doing what's called Dandavat Parikram. Does anybody know how to do that? How do you do it? You fall down like a stick, you mark the place at the tip of your hands, you get, with a little stone, you get back up and then you offer full obeisances on the ground again. And some people go all the way around Govardhan Hill. So I see families there, they have mother, father, 3 kids. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's unhappy. I've done it around Radhakund, Shyamakund. And nobody seems unhappy. Whereas we were recently in Florida, and I saw a lot of families coming to and from Orlando to see the mouse. And everybody was unhappy. A glass of Coca-Cola costs $12.50. They go home broke, and all they saw was a little mouse. So if you come to Vrindavan, you can see the Jamuna. You can see Govardhan Hill during Kartik time. And the most important time of our life is near the end. When is that? Well, we have no idea. Could be any time. But especially when we move on, the actuary tables can tell us what the odds are. And if we're ready for the end, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami, what should my goal be now that I have 7 days to live? And Shukadeva Goswami says, Ante Narayana Smriti. At the end, you should be prepared to remember Lord Narayan. And so, throughout our lives, if we take a little investment of our time every day during Brahma Muhurta, during our month for Akadashi, the day of Lord Hari, during the year, sometime during Kartik, you don't have to go to Vrindavan, you can do it here. It's a beautiful ceremony here during every Kartik, every night. Devotees offer candles, it's heart-rending. In fact, I got to stay here a little bit for Kartik 2 years ago, and it was heart-melting to be here at that time to offer candles to the Lord. In fact, there's a book about Kartik. It's called the Kartik Mahatmya. And one year, when I was in Vrindavan, the devotees there asked me to give a class at the beginning of Kartik, talk about Kartik. So I read the Kartik Mahatmya and said to do one thing during that time. You want to know what it is? Yes. Offer a candle every day. Offer a lamp to the Lord. It's all Kṛṣṇa asked, some little things. He said, if you offer a lamp to me every day during Kartik, I'll be fully satisfied. Kṛṣṇa is easily pleased. Maybe our employers aren't so easily pleased. Family members don't seem to be easily pleased either. But Kṛṣṇa is easily pleased. So little investment, and if you want more spiritual advancement in your life, I highly recommend that you read Bhagavad-gītā every day. There's a practice that some devotees do that's life-changing. And that is to read at least one chapter of Bhagavad-gītā every day. How long do you think it might take? 10 minutes? On average, probably, yes. What are the two shortest chapters in the Bhagavad-gītā? It's a quiz. You guys can't participate because you read it every day. Anybody know what the two shortest chapters are? 15 and 12. I know a lot of people have memorized those two because when they choose to read a chapter of Bhagavad-gītā every day, it's like, which one are you doing? 12. What's the harm? It takes 5-10 minutes. The mind says, oh, don't do that. You'll be bored. Scroll instead. But if we're able to use our free will and read the Bhagavad-gītā every day, just one chapter, then our mind will be fortified. Our intelligence, Kṛṣṇa says in the Bhagavad-gītā, will be purified, because he says, one who studies this dialogue between myself and Arjuna worships me by his intelligence. It's so readily available. But it's so easy to be out of touch with Krishna by not reading the Bhagavad-gītā. We should start a movement here in Silicon Valley. What do you think? I guess we already have, but we should start a movement that everyone should read one chapter of Bhagavad-gītā a day. What do you think? What do you think would happen in Silicon Valley if everyone took time to read one chapter of Bhagavad-gītā every day? I'd like to hear some opinions. What? No business? Any other thoughts? The crime rate would go down. And what else? There'd be better business. There'd be? No war. Wow. That's interesting because Bhagavad-gītā is about a war. Who knows what might happen, but we do know what happens to us. When the mind says, don't do that, it's boring, and we do it anyway because our intelligence tells us that human life is very rare. I have an opportunity to advance spiritually. I know if I'm consistent and do some little spiritual practice every day and I chip away, I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to be a better person. And lo and behold, those who take time, they give attention to Krishna by chanting a little bit, reading Bhagavad-gītā a little bit. They do feel better. And that's impossible to do in this world. There's no way you can feel better here, except by Bhagavad-gītā and chanting Hare Krishna. When we bought this building around 12 years ago, we wanted a place to put all our books. One of the biggest rooms here is down the hallway. It's very large, and that's where we store thousands and thousands of books. But we started distributing them so profusely that we had to put more structures in the parking lot, which aren't there now because we're having the festival. But they all hold books, Bhagavad-gītā and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And here in Silicon Valley we have an experiment going on to see if we can distribute a Bhagavad-gītā to everybody in Silicon Valley. We have a dedication to go to every door and every business. Did you guys know about this? First time you're hearing it. Every door, every business, and offer people the opportunity to take Bhagavad-gītā. And the other day we were over in a place called the Prune Yard Apartments. Do you know where that is? It's in Campbell, I think. And we went to some obscure little apartment building. It was called the Prune Yard Apartment Buildings. And went down some alleyway, some place where only the residents go. And I knocked on somebody's door, and I showed him the Bhagavad-gītā. And he thought it was some kind of miracle because he said he had been waiting for something like this in his life to come along. And he had heard of Bhagavad-gītā and he felt that it was an answer to his prayers. And the founder of our movement, when he came to America, he had written some poetry and made some notations in his diary. And even before he came, he was thinking about what he'd do when he came here. And part of his plan was to make sure that everyone got an opportunity to read the Bhagavad-gītā and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And in one of the writings, he said, because he had a personal experience, he used to go in India, door to door, shop to shop, to offer people the magazine called Back to Godhead. He did it alone, he printed it himself, he even wrote it, then published it, carried the paper to the printer, and then took out the magazines to distribute to others. And he says in one of his writings that everyone's sitting in their house, they're looking out the window down the road and they're wondering, when are Gora and Nitai going to come and save me? So if you ever wonder what people are doing in their homes, that's what they're doing. So this is a giving movement. It's a movement meant to give back. When my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, went to London for the first time in the early 70s or late 60s. Late 60s. And the reporters came and they asked him, why you have come here? And he said, you forgot something. You were in India, where the British, as everyone might remember, for a couple hundred years. And he said, you took so many resources. So many valuable gems are now in England, as they were taken from Bharat. So he said, you took everything else, but you forgot one thing. Oh, what's that? He said, you forgot the best thing, Bhagavad-gītā. You forgot to take the philosophy of India, which is the real jewel of India. All those other jewels, they can be stolen, they can come and go, but if we take the jewel of Bhagavad-gītā into our hearts, it can never be taken from us. And it's the greatest contribution to the world, to give knowledge so that people can help themselves. And there's no better book than the Bhagavad-gītā. So we're great advocates, well, not great in anything, but we are sincere advocates of distributing Bhagavad-gītā and the knowledge of it. And we have several campaigns here during the year where the whole community gathers together, 700 or 800 of us in this community, and everyone participates to give the Bhagavad-gītā to others. So we invite anybody who has great ideas, like one of our members a few years ago. His name is Mayapur Vihari. We're in our other temple, I even forget where it was, Bascom. I was sitting there chanting japa in the early morning hours, and he came up to me during that time and he said, I think I have a good idea. I said, what is that? He said, how about if I put a Bhagavad-gītā in every motel in America? And I said, that is a good idea. And he and his partner, Dilip Bai, then put their minds to it. And to date, since that time, they've distributed 1.5 million Bhagavad-gītas to motels and hotels across America. Yeah. And we hear from people who go there, they open the drawer, and we have compiled stories of those who have gone there in abject depression and have opened the Bhagavad-gītā and read it and have claimed that it saved their lives. So there are many ways that we can help the world, and there are many, many good causes, but there's only one great cause, and that is to save oneself from the cycle of birth and death and take as many other people along with us as possible. That's the mission of our organization here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. And if you have any good ideas, you can come up to me anytime and tell me how you think we could expand the distribution of Bhagavad-gītā to everybody in Silicon Valley. Okay? Yes. It's a deal. Today, we started the morning with chanting. We'll finish it with chanting the rest of the night. We have just under 2 hours before the last artik, which will be at midnight. And it takes a lot of work to put on this festival, not the least of which is going to all our neighbors and warning them that we're going to be up all night. And so are they. And the devotees put a lot of consideration. We have to get permits from the city to have such a festival here in this area. And we're very grateful to all of them for the work they've done in decorating and organizing this festival. And we're grateful to all of you for coming and participating. It's the first time we've ever had it here on a Saturday. It seems to be a suitable day for Janmashtami, don't you think? So if you don't mind, we're going to continue with some Krishna Katha and chanting. I'll just mention a few other points from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because today we had a goal to touch on 29 verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And so far we've mentioned 5, I think. 6. Which verse did we just do? Yene Ravandaksha. Which is? Nanama Rupe. Then the next one is Shrinvan Grinan Samsmarayan Chachintayan Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu Yats Twach Charanara Vindayo Avishta Chesta Nabhavaya Kalpate. In which who's speaking that verse? The demigod's still speaking to Lord Krishna, praying to him in the womb, and they say that devotional service is marked by remembering Krishna, his names, his pastimes, his qualities, his forms, but also by practical service. This verse says, Kriyasu yas twach charanara vindayo. Kriyasu means by manual labor. Devotional service is very simple. If you do something to please Krishna with your heart, heartfelt service, Krishna is easily pleased. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, he says, if you just offer me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. In the story of Rath Yatra and Jagannath Puri, the king Prataparuja had wanted to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi and he refused to see the king. It was against the etiquette for a sannyasi to meet a king. But Prataparuja Maharaj, just before the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, came down to the street and he brought a broom. And he swept the road in front of Lord Jagannath before he came onto his carts. And because of that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, as you all know, is Krishna himself, gave him his full mercy. And the author of the book Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and the commentators of that book mention that if we do some simple service for the Lord, we may have a position as a CEO or father or mother, whatever situation we're in, and however, if we take some time to do something, some menial labor, clean something, chop something like vegetables, to do something with your hands to please Krishna, becomes very pleased. And also in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's a story of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During a ceremony, there were many, many devotees, just like here. And many of them were famous devotees. But out of all the people there, he noticed the housemaid in Srivas Thakur's house, who was bringing little pots of Ganges water to help serve the devotees in their abhishek, very humbly in the back. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed her. You know what her name was? And I say was because Mahaprabhu changed her name. Her name was Dukhi. And when Mahaprabhu, that means unhappy. And when Mahaprabhu noticed her service, he exalted her, he blessed her, and he changed her name to Sukhi. So there's a lesson in that. If we want to be happy, we find some menial service to do for Krishna with our hands. This is one of the points that the demigods make, that there are many great thinkers and munis and so forth, but Krishna is easily pleased by someone who sincerely just tries to do some simple service for him. kriyasu yas charanadavindayo. So now, soon, we'll have, are we having another abhishekam? That's finished. We did 2 already?
One.
Oh, okay. So we're counting down the minutes until midnight, and we're going to keep the transcendental vibration going by singing Hare Krishna and chanting bhajans. Would you like to chant some more?